This is Coda Radio, episode 570 for May 14th, 2024. Hey friend, welcome back to Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and the business of software development and the world of technology. My name is Chris, and joining us over there fighting a lawnmower in his studio, it's our host, Mr. Dominic. Hello, Mike.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Who put an AI chatbot inside a lawnmower? Whose big idea was that?
Yeah. That would be bad.
Bad. So I know you've been fighting. In fact, you've kind of become like our domestic fighting for the every guy kind of man. Everybody says that about you all the time. I know, but maybe the audience doesn't know that you are taking on Blackstone Capital and others that are forcing bad data policies on you. Now, you have been stewing about this all week, and I have not really been able to keep up to, because it's like something going on in your area. I don't think this is going on up here.
Yeah. So the corporate structure is complicated, and to be clear, this is not happening to me, but I have rented from their invitation homes before, which is their like.
So you're just such a hero. You're taking on the plight of some other man that doesn't even affect you.
Well, it's more that it could affect me eventually, right? And I wouldn't put me as like a feel the burn kind of guy. But this is particularly bad because we talk about how the U.S. internet services because of the lack of competition between the ISPs. Well, let me put this in your pipe and you can smoke it and tell me what you think is going to happen here. So, Invitation Homes on all new tenants is forcing you to pay an $85 a month fee as part of the lease for an internet provider. It's a managed service, but it's ultimately Spectrum Internet. That you have no choice. You have to pay the fee whether you use it or not. Further, the router is locked down. There is one plan and one plan alone. That seems bad, right? Also, if you inquire about the data, they don't give you a straight answer. So I'm pretty sure the reason the router is locked down and they take steps to prevent you from using a different router is they're, selling your data.
Yeah, got to be.
So it's $85 for up to 1 gigabyte, right? I currently pay from Spectrum's competitor, like $99 for 2 gigabytes. And, they do throw in some streaming services, but basically if you have a cell phone plan, you probably have the same ones. So there's a couple problems here. One, that completely screws competition because people who don't care as much as we do are just going to say, well, I have to pay this $85 anyway, so I guess I'll use this.
Yeah, for sure.
People who do care, like me, if I was in this situation, would probably end up just eating the $85. The reason this is such an issue is they own such a large portion of the rental properties down in my area. They're a national company, but they're particularly big in Florida because their business model is after the housing crash. They just basically went on a drunk spending spree and bought, all the bad mortgages right out of foreclosure. Super bad. It also removes the consumer's ability to do the thing. Well, if you don't fix my service, I'm going to go to insert other provider here, because they're like, you got to pay us no matter what. What are you talking about? It's not good. I'm sure if they're doing this, other maybe regional players in different parts of the country are going to start doing it. I know they have a competitor called American Homes for Rent. I don't know if they do this, but I wouldn't be shocked if they do. These are the people who had the great innovation of, instead of doing like a pet deposit, which is kind of the old school way to do things, they do a pet fee. Why a fee? Well, because you don't have to return it. So, yeah.
It is required for television and internet access that you use their equipment. Now, do you think they have something running on these things? Would you speculate they have something running on these routers that are like, I don't know, harvesting your DNS records or something like that? And
probably, right? So they're just reselling a third-party service, and I'm sure they just got a big old check to do this, right?
Yeah.
It's just another of the market not really working well for ISPs in particular, because you could say, well, you don't have to rent from them, but if you go on Zillow and 10 out of 11 houses are owned by them for rents, it's really hard to not. So
here's one of their FAQs: if I'm a current Invitation Homes resident in California and I want to roll in the Invitation Homes Internet Package program, can I? Unfortunately, if you are in California, you cannot enroll in the Invitation Homes Internet Package program because the Tenant Protection Act in California prevents Invitation Homes from offering their internet package to California residents who are in the middle of a lease.
Yeah, it's because you can't, right? Like, so some states have laws against this kind of thing where like you can't tack on forced services to your tenants.
Yeah.
Florida doesn't believe in laws, very famously. So, yeah, these guys are also huge in like Texas. So kind of a big deal. The obvious, you run this down a year or two, what will happen is that the general internet service quality for areas where these guys are dominant will be just degraded. Because if you think about it, if you're Frontier and you know that like some large percentage of the homes are forced Spectrum customers, right? And not even Spectrum directly, Spectrum through a third-party management company. Your incentives to kind of try to compete are lessened because it's basically Spotify in the App Store, right? Why pay for Spotify if you get Apple Music as part of your subscription to iCloud?
Yeah, I was going to make the Starlink argument, but you're right. It's just it's hard to. If Starlink's going to be 120-ish, 130-ish a month.
Well, it doesn't even matter though. So even if you don't use this service, you still have to pay the $85 as a fee that's tacked onto your rent. If you don't pay it, your rent is considered late, and they throw that whole process starts.
Well, so of course you're going to use it.
Of course you're going to use it because unless you're a weirdo like me who just like uses tremendous amounts of bandwidth, and then you might use it for like the kiddos and keep your beautiful Frontier to yourself. So I don't know, but on a positive side, you can use your constrained and monopolized bandwidth to watch a Darth Jar Jar Lego series.
There we go, leading into the Darth Jar Jar.
I couldn't be happier. I mean, this is everything I've wanted from Disney Plus.
What is with the Lego movies taking over every genre? They got Batman, they got Spider-Man, they got Star Wars. What is with the Legos?
No, the real question is, why are the Lego movies on average better than the actual IP owner's version?
Yeah, that too, huh?
It's pretty dumb, but yeah, pretty cute, fun stuff. Check it out.
So Google I/O was going on the morning that we record, and a couple of quotes jumped out at me. One of them was, Google will do the Googling for you, talking about the new Gemini model customized for search. It's going to have real-time information, ranking and a quality system with new agent capabilities. With AI overviews, Google will do the work for you, and it'll have multi-step reasoning so that Google can also do the research for you. So say you could tell Google, I'm looking for a sandwich shop that does toasted bread that offers a chicken ranch bacon that has business hours between 8 a.m. and noon, and it can fit 15 people for a work meeting. And then it will go do that research for you, in theory. Sundar said that Google Search is generative AI at the scale of human curiosity. And he also said, quote, Google was built for this moment with generative AI. And then I was kind of impressed to see, and I've wondered why they haven't done this before, but when they did it, they just did it. Sundar then just flexed right there on stage. Like the biggest infrastructure flex I've ever seen a company do. They touted their awesome liquid cooling data centers that can pull more power and do more load than like any other cloud provider. Then he touted the fact that they had like 10x more undersea fiber cables than any other cloud provider. Then they announced their 6th gen TPUs called Terillium or whatever, and said they offer a 4.7x performance improvement. It really felt like, we're the adult in the room. Here's what they were trying to go for. Then he said they're going to be rolling out NVIDIA's chips in their data centers in early 2025, the Blackwell GPUs. Also, they pointed out they at the end, they had a little fun. And they said, so for those of you that have been keeping score, how many times we said AI up on stage, and boom, the big number 120 came up on stage. And then Sundar Pichai said it one more time, and then 121 flipped up on stage. It was all about it. They're going to be rolling out new types of agent search to U.S. search starting this week, and then the rest of the world over the next several weeks. They also debuted a new text-to-video model that outputs 1080p resolution, and they had also this Ask Photo Assistant that searches Google Photos using basically Gemini search. They also announced Synth ID watermark imprinting into all AI-generated video and text, so they have some sort of AI imprinting they're going to do now. Yay for that. And they showed a new version of Gemini, version 1.5 Pro, which can take up to 2 million tokens, which is twice its predecessor, and things like much larger than some of the other LLMs, and more really. I mean, it was all AI. It was all there. You know what they did show though, similar to what OpenAI just showed, is that that new level of conversational AI that sounds like Scarlett Johansson from Her. They showed that off too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the big question for Google is who gets that sweet Apple contract that gets announced at WWDC? Is it them or Microsoft? Or, OpenAI, but that's kind of Microsoft, right? So,
it's funny is we have stories just a couple of days old that say that Apple's still negotiating with both of them.
Of course, they're good.
Why not both? Why not both?
No, never. Because Apple's going to squeeze the most value out of it by saying it's exclusive, just like they did with search.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And Google, I'm sure Google is basically willing to give them anything.
Yeah, but I thought Sam would too.
Oh, I think the problem is OpenAI is we have to test out the new stuff that was announced at I.O., but I think OpenAI is clearly the leader here.
All right, well, let's get to that. Coder.show/membership. Thank you to all our members who support the show directly, and you can use the promo code DARTH Jar Jar and take $1 a month off your membership for a year. Contribute to the show directly, get an ad-free version of the show, and of course have that warm fuzzy knowing that you're keeping an independent podcast going. And you also have the warm fuzzy knowing that if the pod were to fade because of the prolonged ad winter, you did your part. And those of you that didn't sign up, well, I don't know. Maybe you go over to coder.show/membership, use the promo code Darth Jar Jar, and then you never have that guilt. But you also, when we get to it, get the Coderly report, and you do get that ad-free version of the show. There's a couple of redemptions left, so move quick because we had Isaac, Wilson, Maggie, Liberty44 all sign up this week as new Coder QA members. We also had a handful of you upgrade to Jupiter Signal memberships as well. Thank you very much for supporting the show. You can also support each production directly by sending us a boost. Go get a new podcast app at newpodcastapps.com. They have a bunch of great new features in there. They have brilliant communities and dev teams around them. I'm working with the Fountain FM team every week to incorporate your feedback and features. The Podverse developers have worked with us hand in hand on our website, improving and fixing parts of our community now work in the Podverse app. And of course, Castomatics, like the Cadillac for iOS of podcast apps. All of these support cloud chapters, transcripts, boosts, and PodPing notifications. So when a new episode's out, you get it within 90 seconds. There's a lot of great features in there that we're adding to all of our shows as well. So you'll just see more and more features show up when you have a Podcasting 2.0 app, like live streams and things of the such. So you can get a new podcast app at newpodcastapps.com. Fountain, Podverse, and Castomatics seem to be the big hits in our audience. Then you boost in, you support each production directly. So those are your options. Coder.show/membership. Become a member and support with Fiat Fun coupons every single month. Or get a new podcast app and support with a boost for each production that you think deserved a little value. That's newpodcastapps.com. So we saw ChatGPT 4.0 announced. And it wasn't GPT-5, it wasn't a new search engine, but it did have a lot of capabilities and that conversational style that we talked about. Sounds like you overall thought it was a fairly impressive demo?
Yeah, the only thing I hate about it is the name. Because it's, a little, just creepy, man. Definitely not ChatGPT 5, which I know you have some notes about. I asked it kind of a broad question about kind of, Alice and how to do biz dev, and it was pretty thorough in telling me that I suck at biz dev. So, that's cool. We'd probably be remiss if we didn't mention that OpenAI inked a deal with Stack Overflow to use answers on SO as their training data. That's interesting because there's been a little bit of a backlash. People have been deleting some of their answers, but I think that got more coverage than is actually the case, right? It can execute Python code, which is interesting.
Yes, I agree. That is interesting.
There's some voice stuff. Okay, there's going to be a Mac app that can see your screen. A lot of questions around that, but they're slowly rolling it out. So hopefully I have it in time for next week. I don't know. I think this is definitely an evolution for ChatGPT 4. It's pretty clear, like you and I were chatting about in private, that they baseball slid their way in under Google I/O and WWDC. But it's certainly not like a GPT 5 situation where it's big changes. It's incremental improvement, quality of life improvements, things you would want if you use this tool.
Yeah, things consumers would want. I continue to be surprised that OpenAI promises to change industry and change worlds, but then every time they give us any kind of keynote or demo, what we see are cute little consumer toy features. I understand some of it also is available via API, but I think the proof will be in the actual of using, because when I see them talking about how it's the perfect teacher, I just roll my eyes. It's a text auto completion model. It's not the perfect teacher, and to make that statement in the keynote is just absolutely ludicrous. And the thing is very good, seemingly, at sounding natural and buying for time while it figures things out, what it needs to say. But this is really just an evolution of what GPT-4 Turbo and what GPT-3 has been. We still see quirky errors when people try it for real. And to me, it seems kind of telling that yet once again, while we're seeing Google talk about, 10x the fiber cables and be able to do 1 gigawatt data centers, we see OpenAI giving us a demo where the thing claims it noticed that the person came up behind it and gave it bunny ears, but then when you look at the camera shot, like the thing couldn't actually see the person, so how did it know that? Which makes me think the entire demo was a scam. I feel like I'm not the only one that said this. Gary Marcus had this on Twitter, but OpenAI presumably pivoted to these new features precisely because they don't know how to produce the kind of capability and advances that exponential improvements would have predicted when we all thought. Remember when Sam was flying around the world, warning world leaders this thing was moving so fast, they needed to act immediately because before we knew it, it was going to be as dangerous as a weapon. And each day there's no GPT-5 model from OpenAI, to me, suggests that all that money and all those people working so hard haven't gotten us there yet. And I think we've actually reached a phase of diminishing returns, because what we're seeing here is iterative, both from Google and both from Gemini. And I bet we're going to see something fairly iterative from Apple in a couple of weeks too. I think we have reached this phase where we're going to start moving goalposts more than we're going to actually see huge changes. And then it's always going to be some problem that has to be solved. Well, we don't have enough power. We don't have enough hardware. We don't have enough whatever it is. Even though just 6 months ago, we were all freaking out about how fast this thing can move and all of that. I'm not trying to take away from, it seems like they've done a good job at the ability for this thing to take pictures from video and identify what's in that. And you can interrupt it, and it seems to handle that pretty well. Like, they've definitely moved the ball forward, but they've just moved the ball forward to where, honestly, Siri should be today. This is nothing that's so groundbreaking, right? We're still very, very early. We're still at basic Siri capabilities here, and GPT-5 it is definitely not. And I don't think we're going to see GPT-5, even though it's been 14 months of them promising it so far.
Yeah, I think there's some engineering problems. I certainly think an expectation problem here of. I get that everybody wants. I mean, Altman was out again saying we need regulation. We need regulation. It's because you're the leader and you want to build a moat. Like, there's just no risk of this going Skynet. It's just not going to happen. So
yeah. And
if it does, I won't care because I'll be dead anyway. So I mean, either way, I win on this one.
Well, either way, you're going to be on Pop OS because you apparently took it with you on the road when you went to New York recently.
Yep.
And I'm curious, what you bring it on? How'd it work for you? And was it okay using an OS that didn't have an AI assistant built in yet?
Yeah, it was very fine.
Huh, okay. Yeah. So it's still doable. Oh, good to know.
And I also didn't need advertisement. I'm assuming you're talking about Windows. You don't need advertisements in your taskbar either. So no, it was pretty good. They've definitely made some polish changes since last I used it. I was on the now sadly defunct HP Dev 1. You can't buy them anymore. The same couple little weird things. I had like one hiccup with, sleep wake. Could do with more battery life. The pop keyboard shortcuts, once I refamiliarized myself, they were pretty easy to use. I do wish Cosmic was out, their new desktop, because that looks a little more polished, I guess. Though GNOME is fine. I mean, I just live in like the JetBrains IDEs, right? PyCharm, RubyMine, some VS Code, and Warp Terminal. So
yeah, I'm curious to see where Cosmic brings us to. I think we have to keep expectations kind of tempered, just because it's such a big scope. So like the first couple of releases are probably going to be, I would imagine, not minimum, but they're not gonna have everything figured out just yet in the first release or two of Cosmic. So I think it's, even once it comes out, it's probably going to be a couple of years until it's really kind of quote unquote polished. But the early stuff I've seen, I like what I see so far. I'm getting more excited as time goes on. So now that the Dev 1 is no longer available, I wonder if you find yourself where I'm at is for the first time ever in my life, I actually lost a laptop like 6 months ago, and I still have not yet found. I know, I hate it. It was a ThinkPad of mine. I liked it a lot. I don't know if it got legs and walked away or what. And I cannot find it. I thought by now it would have popped up too. And of course, this entire time the battery's probably been sitting dead, so now the battery's wrecked. So and it was, it was a 2019, so 2018. So maybe it was, maybe kind of time to consider replacing it, but I have no idea what I'd replace it with right now. I'm not quite sure what's the right laptop for me at this moment. So I'm not even sure what AI workloads on Linux are going to look like in a year or two. And it's not like I'm going to do all this AI stuff, but I do want to be able to do transcription. I'd like to be able to run a large language model against some of our own data on my own laptop and play around with that stuff. I like to generate images for live streams and things like that. So I want to have some capabilities, but I don't really know what that looks like for a Linux system right now.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna. Well, but a lot of people using AI are just using like ChatGPT in the browser, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about. I want to play with the stuff you can run locally.
Yeah, I think it's got a ways to go. I did not try it because I just didn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't really.
Well, you got to really right now. I think you got to be on an NVIDIA system. I think for the best experience.
Yeah. Little Dev 1 couldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't know. The Framework 16 does look appealing because it has a detachable GPU. So in theory, you could get a base laptop. I don't know if this even is a shipping thing yet, but in theory, you could get like a base laptop, and then when you were going to do a GPU-specific workload, you just slap this thing into the back, and then boom, you got a GPU. Kind of like it goes in where the fan kind of is and where the battery might be, and it's like a whole module. And then you have a Ryzen, an RX 7, I think it's a 7700. That seems like a sweet system, and especially if they kept doing updates to that, so you could kind of keep the base motherboard for a couple of releases, and then just pop in this either external NVIDIA or AMD GPU pack. That'd be great. So I'm keeping my eye on that, but I don't actually know if it's shipping yet. But as soon as anybody has an experience with it, I'd love to hear from you out there. Boostergram. All right, well, we got some boosts into the show. Anonymous came in as our baller booster. Hey, Rich Lobster! 25,000 sats to say, great show. Thank you very much, Anonymous.
Dankeschön.
Appreciate that. Hybrid Sarcasm came in with a row of McDucks.
Things are looking up for old McDuck.
22,222 sats. My very first live boost. Love me some Coder. Well, you know what? I appreciate you boosting in live. We missed that just at the end of the show, but I wanted to get it in right here. Thank you. Thank you. Tiger Dog came in with another row of McDucks.
This old duck still got it.
22,222 sats. I wanted to finally boost in and support the show. Would hate to see you guys pod fade during the ad winter. Thank you. It's kind. Sam Altman was interviewed recently, and it was an hour of him basically saying nothing. But I did notice Sam moving the goalpost with GPT-5, just as you suggested he would, Chris. Now he says they might not even call it GPT-5 at all. So I went and I found this. I think it was on another pod that got posted to Twitter, but I found the clip on Twitter that Tiger Dog is referring to here. It's really quick. I'll play it for you. Here's Sam kind of moving the goalpost on GPT-5.
We take our time on releases of major new models, and I don't think I think it will be great when we do it, and I think we'll be thoughtful about how we do it. Like we may release it in a different way than we've released previous models. Also, I don't even know if we'll call it GPT-5.
No. Might not call it GPT-5, and we're going to release it in a different way. So we might not call it GPT-5, and we're not going to release it like we released other models. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, fine. Whatever. Tiger Dog, thank you for taking the time to figure out how... Oh, I see you boosted from Fountain Web. Yeah, you can now boost from the Fountain website. If you go to Fountain FM and search for Coda Radio, you can boost from there with any Lightning app. Thank you for that. Adversary 17 boosted in with 20,000 sats, but no message. Thank you. Appreciate the support, as always. You are a solid, reliable boosters, Mr. 17. Sumrock comes in with 6,000 sats to say, I wanted to pile on to the Nick's DevShell accolades. I'm a developer on the platform team of a smallish startup. I brought Nix development environments to the engineering team after I started a few years back. There is now a Nix flake in the project root that describes all required dependencies to run our Django React monolith. This includes external repository with internal application that provides a CLI, CI/CD, and developer tools. You just run Nix develop, and then everything gets set up. Whenever tooling is changed or dependencies are added, we update the Nix flake, and then we just commit that to Git. That way, the next time someone pulls the default branch, their environment automatically updates to match the requirements in the flake. I literally never hear, quote, "It doesn't work for me," because if it doesn't work for one, it doesn't work for all. This also means it takes new engineers about 10 minutes to build after they have Nix installed. Oh, and did I mention we're doing it all on MacBooks?
Nice.
That's a fire boost right there, Sumrock. Thank you.
Spice. Spice must flow.
A little extra coffee for you. Here you go. Appreciate that. That's a great example of how you can make Nix work for a team across multiple. And you can have some of those people on Linux too. It's just so freaking powerful. Appreciate you sharing that with us. I'm going to sneak one in under the 2000 cutoff because Graph came in with, I think we are in the boring middle road for AI as it is. It's revolutionary compared to what we had, but on the grand scheme of things, it's relatively inconsequential as it stands. Sure, it can help you with your writing, but it can't reliably teach you anything without you needing to fact check what it says. When an LLM can reliably tell you historical events and do math, it'll be a much bigger deal. Until then, it creates historical events that never happened, so it isn't trustworthy. Yeah, I think that kind of summarizes how I feel. Like, you can work with it, but you got to continue to fact check it. Whatever it might be, if it's a code assistant or if it's something you're looking up the history of.
Yeah.
We'll probably get there after we stack like a dozen LLMs on top of each other that are all like checking each other. You'll have like agent LLMs that are checking the answering LLM, you know?
Ah, what a great use of energy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
do everything in triplicate. Okay.
Oh, man, not good. All right, and that brings us to the end of the boost. We had 6 boosters this week, and we stacked 96,444 sats. Oh, so close to the 100,000 goal. So close. Thank you, everybody who did boost in. If you'd like to get us to that 100,000 sat goal next week, go get a new podcast app. Something like Fountain or Cast-O-Matic or Podverse work really well. You can also boost from Fountain.fm's website. We'll put links to that stuff in the show notes. Thank you, everybody who supports the show through a boost. And thank you, everybody who supports the show by becoming a member at coder.show/membership. Well, Mr. Dominic, is there anywhere you want to send people before we get out of here?
Check out alice.dev, and you can find me on the Weapon X.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm over there. Chris LAS. You can also find me on the Bird Thing Noster. It's another Bird network. You can just go to Chris LAS for that. Links to what we talked about, those are over at coder.show/570. We are going to be, I think we're live. I don't know, probably live next Tuesday. Probably. You can always find out at coder.show/calendar or join us on a Tuesday randomly at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Find out. Just plug jblive.fm into your browser of choice and find out. I don't know. Live a little. Thanks so much for joining us. See you back here next week.